Today, in honor of Betty White and her recent passing and what would have been her 100th birthday, I thought we would honor her and her Golden Girls with this cheesecake and these two easy topping sauces. The things we'll need to create our cheesecake is 40 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature, and if you can't find the bricks, you can use the cream cheese spread. Just make sure that it is the original cream cheese spread and not the whipped cream cheese spread. I know right now it's a shortage, it's kind of hard to find, so as you can see, I got several containers that I'll be able to get 40 ounces of cream cheese out of. Then we will need 1¼ cups of granulated sugar, a ½ cup of sour cream at room temperature, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 4 large eggs at room temperature. And then for the crust, we will need 1¼ cups of graham cracker crumbs, 4 tablespoons of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 5 tablespoons of melted butter. We're also going to need a 9-inch springform pan, as well as some mixing bowls, and I am using my 5-piece Priority Chef mixing bowl set. They have rubber bottoms that keep them from slipping, and I love that they have lids in case I want to store the batter or other things in the fridge. You're also going to want to use a rubber spatula, a whisk, and my hand mixer or a stand mixer. And then for optional toppings, we're going to use some lingonberry jam, as well as some chocolate chips and some heavy whipping cream. Let's get started. As I said, today I'm going to be using this 5-piece set of Priority Chef mixing bowls. I love that they have the rubber bottoms. They're dishwasher safe. And like I said, they have these really great lids. And when they are not lidded, they stack really nicely all together in the big one. So it makes for easy storage. These were kindly gifted to me by Priority Chef. And if you guys would be interested in these bowls, I'll put a link in the description down below. The first thing we're going to do is prepare our crust. So I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And I have my springform pan here. And I like to line the bottom with parchment paper. Now, if you're trying to figure out how to get a really great fit for your parchment paper, all you need to do is take a regular square piece of parchment paper and start to fold it into quarters and then continue to fold it into a wedge. And then you find the center and then you just trim it. So then that way you have a perfect sized round piece of parchment paper that will fit right in the bottom of your pan, so it'll be easier to release your cheesecake at the end. That's completely optional, but I always like putting parchment paper at the bottom of my pans. It just makes it a whole lot easier, and you don't have to worry about any potential sticking. Now that we have our springform pan ready with its parchment paper, I'm going to take my 1¼ cup of ground graham cracker, and I got the ground graham cracker crust base, but you could also just take regular graham crackers and you could crush them in a food processor or put them in a plastic bag and crunch them up. However you want to do it is just fine, but I find that the pre-chopped up ones is a lot easier. And then I like to add just a tiny bit of cinnamon. So if you find the graham crackers that have the cinnamon sugar on them, that's a really great alternative as well, just to add a little bit of extra flavor with that cinnamon. And then we're going to take our 4 tablespoons of granulated sugar and we are going to add that to our graham cracker and cinnamon, as well as 5 tablespoons of melted butter. And then we're going to mix this together until it looks like wet sand. Okay, so once we get everything well incorporated and our graham cracker looks like wet sand, we're going to go ahead and grab our springform pan, and then I have an empty measuring cup here, and we're going to use that to help press the graham cracker into our pan. Okay, so now that we have gone around and we have our crust going about halfway up the side, we're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven for 7 minutes. Okay, so it has been 7 minutes. I just pulled my crust out of the oven and I'm letting it cool while we whip up the actual batter of our cheesecake. And I reduced the oven to 325 degrees. So now I have measured out my 40 ounces of cream cheese and I used a kitchen scale to make sure that I have an accurate measurement since I wasn't able to get the bricks of cream cheese. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to lightly mix our cream cheese until it is nice and smooth. So now that our cream cheese is nice and smooth, and it is essential that your Cream cheese, sour cream, and your eggs are at room temperature. If you try to do it cold, it's not going to work out as well. Because the beautiful part about this cheesecake is you don't have to use a water bath. And because of all the steps that are taken, it rarely ever cracks. It's usually a beautiful, perfect cheesecake every single time. So we're going to scrape the sides of the bowl. I'm going to add my granulated sugar, my sour cream, and my vanilla, and we're going to mix again. And when you're making a cheesecake or anything like this that has the potential to crack, it's important to not overmix your ingredients. You want to mix them just enough that you're not incorporating a whole bunch of extra air. So that's why we're going to whisk up our eggs in a separate bowl, and we're going to carefully add them in while the mixer is mixing on low. So in that way we can get them just incorporated in, and then we'll just kind of finish it off with our spatula, and then we'll try to get some of the air bubbles out of our batter. Now I'm going to carefully add my eggs in while we mix this up. And again, we don't want to overmix. We just want to get everything incorporated because we don't want to add any extra air into our batter. So we're just going to do a little bit of hand mixing here at the end and scrape the bottom to make sure everything is well incorporated. And I think that's good. So at this point, we're going to actually take our bowl and we are going to pound it on the counter to get some of our air bubbles out. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's actually like little dark spots where you're actually seeing the bubbles come up and burst and leave a little indentation, and that's what we want. We want that air to escape the batter. Okay, so now that we have pounded the air out, we're going to go ahead and add it to our crust. So I have my crust that we have baked for the 7 minutes, and we're going to go ahead and add our filling. So we have smoothed our cheesecake batter in here, and now we're going to put it into the oven. And it's going to bake for 30 minutes at 325 degrees, and then we're going to reduce the temperature to 250 degrees and continue to cook it for 45 minutes. Please make sure you do not open your oven door at this time. You just want to make sure that we can cook it without releasing any of that heat. Once our cheesecake has completed its full baking time, we're going to leave the oven door closed and we're going to turn the oven off. We're going to make it sit in there for another 30 minutes, and that's called carryover cooking. And then once that 30 minutes has elapsed, we're then going to crack the oven door and have the cheesecake sit in there for another hour. This is going to gradually cool the temperature of the cheesecake off, and that's what's going to make it so that it doesn't crack. After it has been in the oven for an hour, we're then going to put it on the counter. I like to put it on top of a cooling rack, and we're going to let it sit for another couple hours. And then we're going to cover it with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge overnight. Okay, so here is my cheesecake. This has been chilling in my fridge all night and was covered in plastic wrap, and now we are ready to serve it up. So we're going to go ahead and take the springform pan off, and then we're going to place it onto a plate here. And this is why I love a springform pan. And then we can just slide this over a little bit. And I can slide this onto my plate. And again, because I used parchment paper, all of it was able to come off really easily, and there will be less cleanup on the actual pan. So now we have our beautiful cheesecake. We can set off to the side, and I'm going to show you how to make some sauces and garnish for our cheesecake, so then that way you could have a flavored cheesecake. Okay, so we're going to make a very easy microwave chocolate ganache that you can put right onto your cheesecake. So all you need is 2 cups of chocolate chips, and you can do dark chocolate, milk chocolate, whatever you'd like, and then you do 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream, and then we're just going to put it in the microwave for 1 minute. We're going to whisk it together and then see if it needs to go back in for just a little bit longer. Okay, so this has been in there for 1 minute, so we're just going to whisk this together. And once you get it all whisked together, we have this beautiful chocolate ganache that is able to be stored in the fridge for a week or 2, which is great because then you can just bring it out, heat it up a little bit, and you're ready to put it on anything, ice cream, cheesecake, but in the cold form, you can actually add it to a cup of coffee and stir it in. It'll give you a really great mocha. And now I'm going to show you one other sauce we're going to put on top. Okay, so I have 4 teaspoons of water in here. I don't know if you guys can see it moving around in there. And then we're going to take our lingonberry jam or preserves, but you could use any preserves you want. But I chose lingonberries because Rose was from St. Olaf, and St. Olaf is a Norwegian village, and lingonberries would have been a very common thing for Rose to have. So I thought this would be a nice little nod to Betty White and her character Rose that she played. So we're then going to add 4 heaping tablespoons of whatever jam you want to use or preserves and put that in with the water. And then all you're going to do is put it in the microwave for 15 seconds, stir, and then see if it needs anything longer. Okay, I'm going to pop this in the microwave for 15 seconds and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so it has been the 15 seconds and I think I'm going to put it in for another 15 seconds here. So now it has been a total of 30 seconds with the 2 15-second intervals. And we have a really great sauce that's thinned out and we can put right onto our cheesecake. But again, you could put this on regular cake, ice cream, anything. And it's just a really easy way to take your favorite preserves or jam and turn it into a sauce that you can use on other items. Now we're ready to cut our cheesecake, and I like to take whatever knife I'm using and run it under some hot water to just get it warm, and then I just take a paper towel and wipe it off. And I do recommend that you wipe it off in between each slice so that you get nice clean cuts. And as you can see, we have a velvety smooth, beautiful piece of cheesecake. And now we can garnish it with our sauces. And I did the chocolate ganache because the Golden Girls' first cheesecake was actually a chocolate cheesecake. So I thought that would be a great nod. Plus, they loved putting chocolate sauce, chocolate sprinkles, chocolate shavings, Oreo cookies, you name it, on their actual cheesecake. And I like to just kind of drizzle it. It does not need to be perfect by any stretch. We are just adding some yumminess to our cheesecake, which I will promise you is amazing by itself without any additions. But who doesn't love some chocolate? And we're going to add some of our lingonberry sauce here. I just want to say a special thank you to my sister. This is the recipe that she has been using for a couple years, and the sauces are something that I always add to her cheesecakes. And we now have a cheesecake slice that Rose, Sophia, Dorothy, and Blanche would have loved. So if you guys like this video, give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we will catch you guys later. Thanks so much.
Oh, do you know how many problems we have solved over a cheesecake at this kitchen table?